know. But we'll see. We're going to get into our next map. Looks like it's going to be on Vermeer.
In the top right, in the blue, our Terran player. He is Fantasy. And in the bottom right, in the red, our Zerg player. He is Jadong. So Artosis, if you told me that we'd have Jadong in the finals with our lineup, I would have thought, yeah, I guess that makes sense, right?
Yep.
Fantasy beating Bisu is surprising.
Sure.
The way that Fantasy beat Bisu is even more surprising. The fact that Fantasy is beating Jadong is crazy. Now that Fantasy is up 2-0 against Jadong, it is out of this world. I don't think anybody expected this. I don't even know if Fantasy realized this was going to be possible. Jadong has been in incredible shape. He's played in many ASLs. At times he looks like he might be the guy that takes the whole thing, but sometimes he loses in an upset. He's historically been the greatest Zerg that there is. Fantasy is up there in the pantheon of all the great Terran players that we've had in StarCraft 1 and ones that have revolutionized the game. He was an accomplished StarCraft 2 pro as well. But here we are in Game 3 in this best of 5 in the finals of the Legends match. And Fantasy is so close to the finish line, it's wild.
And he's choosing a build to try to put himself over that finish line immediately. This is a 4-8 barracks, and right now this particular variant where you wall in your natural right behind the 8 barracks is the build. You know, in StarCraft 1, there's always a build in that kind of rock, paper, scissors formation. There's always a Protoss build that Terran players are having a hard time with, a Terran build Zerg players are having a hard time with, and a Zerg build that Protoss players are having a hard time with. And this is the exact one right now that a lot of Zerg pros don't like to face. It's this 8 racks pressure into expansion. Luckily for Jadong, he's going to scout it immediately. He is going to look at that. He knows exactly what he's against. He plays against this a lot right now. Let's see how strong his defense is.
Even the damage on the Marine early on, getting it to 30 HP is a pretty big deal. The Marines are not going to heal organically where the drones, Zerglings, everything else will. He's going to have the Marines trickle down one by one. He's going to get the bunker set up. Just like the old days, this is a bunker rush, but this is not one where you're trying to necessarily overpower them right away. You're trying to pull the drones out, because if they don't, they will lose outright. Pick off as many drones as possible while trading out as effectively as you can.
Oh man, he only brought 4 drones. He actually gets us around and kills a Marine. That's kind of a big deal, but already 2 drones falling. 2 drones. That is a little bit painful this quickly. Brings more out, starts surrounding. Oh man, he's not gonna quite catch this one, I think. Wait, oh my god! The moving shot, he does, but he loses another drone in the process.
Yeah, and so there's just 1 Marine inside this bunker. Can he intercept another one? He's starting to do a decent amount of damage. He's gonna have to pull that 1 drone away. The second Marine gets inside. The Lings come up. The SCVs actually help. They repair and then damage that Ling. The repairing continues on. Oh my god.
Oh no, he's like 2 Lings short of busting all of this instantly.
Oh my god. So he's gonna be able to bust it. And I don't know where the kill count is exactly. I mean, how many drones were actually taken out back there?
I want to say 4.
Okay.
I want to say he got 4. It might have been 5 though. So a little bit painful for Jadong. Obviously, both the SCVs died. He made a bunker that died, and all of those Marines ended up dying. He didn't overmake Zerglings. In fact, I believe he undermade by exactly 1 pair, or that would have broken a lot quicker. So I look at this game right now, and I would say that this is slightly Fantasy advantaged.
Yeah, I think he could have gotten 1 to 2 drones more. Also, the fact that the moving shot paid off and he killed the second Marine completely changes the math. There is a world where that second Marine early on got in the bunker, and when the retake, you know, from the drones, the Lings came in, the game just ends.
Yeah, those are possibilities. You know, normally you're not supposed to die to the single 8 barracks. It's more of a pressure play where you're jockeying for position a little bit. Now, Fantasy, like the way he's following it up, this is exactly how you're supposed to do it, right? Like he's got that wall, he's making Marines, his expansion, going into an academy very, very quickly. Let's see how Jadong likes to go about it. He's getting his 3rd hatchery. He's definitely re-droning a little bit, which is really important to get that economy back into the more functional area. He has a layer on the way. There's a decent chance that this just goes into a regular macro game, But so far today, what Jaedong has had a problem with is keeping his third base.
That's right, Artosis. It's been very, very difficult for him to basically get into the state of the game where he can start to really attack. And, you know, once you get the third base and especially the fourth base up, you're not defending versus the Terran anymore. Now you're actually out fighting and trying to end the game. And so it's pretty wild that, you know, of all players, Fantasy is able to basically stop Jaedong before he can even get started here. And so let's see what exactly is going to happen in this game. I mean, Fantasy tries to get in there and do that damage. He does a decent amount. Not so much that I would say Jaedong's going to be limping into this phase of the game, but he is getting that Spire out. Fantasy is continuing to crank out SCVs, produce and tech up and develop. And pretty soon here, I think we can expect to see Fantasy try to move out and start to test the waters a little bit here with the Zerg.
Sure, yeah, I mean, you want to push out. You want to make sure that Zerg is not being too greedy, right? Like a big part of playing against Zerg in StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2 is making sure that they're not making too many drones. And here you can see as soon as the move out occurs, Fantasy turns around because he knows that's all he has to do. When Jaedong sees that coming, he just simply must make 1 to 2 sunken colonies. You can see, makes one, cancels the other.
Right.
Okay, this is what this move out was for.
So the Lings are going to come out once more. The Overlord here is just observing when the movement's going to come in and out. He hasn't sent anything over there to try to see that yet. I like the dive. Only gets 1 Ling while burning a stim on all those infantry units. 3 Raxes are set up. And, you know, where it's going to be a little bit more downtime, I think. Basically, with the Spire finishing, and look at the perfect scan. He's going to see that Spire is about to be done. We're going to have 9 mutas, maybe up to 11 here to harass. And as that starts up, we want to see that drone come out on the map and stake out. There it is, actually, even sooner than I thought. And it looks like this is probably going to be an expansion at the bottom left. I don't think we're going to see Jaedong try to take a natural and hide.
Yeah.
Like the natural expansion of a base and try to hide that third base because of how badly it backfired in game 2.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. At this point, Jaedong is going to have to play a bit more textbook. There's no other way. You don't want to just lose instantly to Fantasy busting your third base. So he is going to go ahead and expand into the more safe location. He actually told it to. There you go. He's going to be able to get it started. His mute is going across the map, but the turrets should be just about ready. Ooh, a nice catch there. No vision for Jaedong, so accidentally flies into the Marines. But he will start kind of dogging this Marine medic force.
Yeah, he's going to force the Terran to be extremely attentive with this infantry here. The Lings are going to run around. He might actually dive in and try to kill the turret even. I don't see any, I don't see anything over here. He's actually going to come up into the main. Fantasy has a decent amount prepared here, but you know, mutas and Lings together, it's tough. The Marines, sometimes they don't pair very well. And then you get a situation like this where you trade out really nicely. The last Ling kills the last Marine, but it's headed southbound is this infantry squad, this big group of units that's coming down. I see 1 sunk and 2 more morphine. A scan, I think, should tell Fantasy it would be unwise to commit.
Yeah, as a third sunken finishes, you definitely can't attack. His timing for this is pretty much evaporating at this point, which will allow Jaedong, well, it looks like he wants to do it right before that third sunken is ready. Against 2, you definitely can bust. The Ling's coming out. The third should be finishing in a moment, but he might kill the first one before it finishes. Oh man, Jaedong has to bring his mutas home.
Yeah, kind of a dicey move from Fantasy, but it does change the flow of the game here, right? Those Lings and mutas could have done a lot of damage, but because he sacrificed these units onto the sunk and threatened a lot of damage, everything has to come back and respect that. We got to get a shot of what exactly has been made back at home for Fantasy. He's got a decent amount of infantry.
Yeah, it looks like he is going for a siege tank, and yeah, a Valkyrie with that. He really loves builds like this.
He loves this build. Regardless of the way the game develops at the start, this is where he wants to take it. So I don't think this will be a game where it comes down to a fight over the third base. This is going to be a game where Terran is trying to push the natural down here, the Zerg, using the Valkyries to basically protect the tank and the infantry and make it impossible for mutas to engage. Was that a Queen's Nest in the main, by the way? Was that what I saw? Or yes, it is.
Yes. Well, we'll see what he does with the Queen's Nest. If he's going to get lurkers with that, it could be a Guardian Rush. But when your opponent is already fielding Valkyries, sometimes that can be it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. But like against a siege tank-based composition, it can work.
Oh, he cancels the would-be sunken colony. The creep tumor is gone. Jaedong supply block, by the way. It could not have been a worse time. Oh my God, the Valkyrie! You know, those extra hits, it's huge. Yeah. Every little missile that hits, like that Muta has 6 HP. Well, he's gonna have to commit down here. The next Valkyrie's coming out. It's funny, Fantasy likes Valkyrie builds, but he seems to be a little bit greedy with how much Valkyrie damage he wants to pull off here.
That's true.
But I guess he knows every extra shot that he gets allows that second where the Marine stim to just snowball the fight.
Well, he comes down to the front. You can see this spread of sunken colonies. This is the way you want to do it. You want to stifle them against tanks. Try to force as many siege and unsieges as is possible. But Fantasy going to get to work immediately on one of these sunkens. The Defilers are too far out right now, right? He's hit a good timing. The Defilers are going to be late. So Jaedong has to engage this, and he has to kill everything.
Oh, he lost the Valkyrie.
Ooh,
he
nice.
actually had the Scourge underneath the Mutas there.
You know what? This could be a very good Guardian situation, actually.
Yeah.
What you were saying before, maybe it wasn't before he killed a couple Valkyries, but now I could see that being a good move.
How many? There's 6 Mutas here. There's more Marines coming down. There's a Scourge. Oh my gosh, he actually has the Valkyrie through here. Somehow the Scourge weren't able to intercept that. He's got to be careful. Once again, it seems like the Valkyrie's going to but the Valkyrie 360 no-scopes the Scourge.
Yeah, but you know what? The Mutas actually go up and kill the rest of those Marines that were coming in. So, you know, he is whittling this down a little bit. If we could check the main 4 tech for Jaedong right now, that would be great.
So we've got the tanks coming down now. The stim is just continuing to hit this. These Mutas are getting so low on HP. And the Lurker's going to come forward, but... Oh, hold on. There's more Lurkers coming on this side. Does he have a scan? He does.
Oh, man, that scan very, very important for these siege tanks. There's so few Marines left. He's trying to box them in. The Ling's coming up and are going to be able to delete these Marines. It looks like he will finally break through this push.
Yeah, he shuts that down pretty nicely. But the Muta count was reset. It's Lurkerling. You can fight Lurkerling with a Marine tank. It really comes down to finesse and control. The Hive has started here, so he's going to try to get into that Defiler tech. We see as the game is no longer about Mutas, instead it's going to be about Fantasy trying to move down here to the bottom left. Now, anytime you see, we saw a dropship, by the way, headed out to the south here. Anytime you see Valkyries being made, it means science vessels are going to be a lot later.
That's right, which can make Defilers incredibly strong. Now, he burrows a couple Lurkers up here. He's going to be able to move them back against that scan and siege. He's got to buy time and save that base.
Oh my God!
Beautiful.
Gets the dropship. Jaedong's perfectly ready.
1 supply for 10. Let's go. Jaedong having some good defenses so far this game. One thing to mention is once Hive Tech is out, Marine Medic Siege Tank is no longer a good composition. Just about everything in Hive counters Siege Tanks.
Right.
So, you know, we're going to see if he actually can get up to there, but against this layer tech that we still see fielded from Jaedong, it is a little bit tough.
That's right. The Defilers... hold on a second. We've got... Okay, there we go. He's going to be able to come in here with these Lurkers. I think he was able to get a couple of drones. Getting the drones is not bad, by the way. Keep in mind, Zerg don't ever get that many drones in the game, so when you kill one, it's pretty big. I think Fantasy's screen isn't even over this right now. He's probably back to macroing and producing somewhere else. We've got one more push coming through here, although this push looks... actually, the unit comp doesn't even really make sense. No medics there.
Well, this is Fantasy just trying to keep pressure on, and it's starting to really not work. Jaedong has his feet under him. He's only down by 10, 12 supply right now, and his tech is very good.
That's right. And I think from here, the opportunities for Terran to end the game are gone.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless we see a real slip up here. It looks like with the 1 remaining tank he has, he's going to try to come out and get something done. But once the consume upgrade gets done, and we see it is done, and he can gobble up these Zerglings, he's going to have endless mana to make Dark Swarm, which is going to make a push impossible.
This is where we need to see Fantasy switch it up. He can't be making Valkyries anymore. He really should be going into Science Vessels. We do see a Science Vessel there. But, like, you need to really switch into Vessels. They're going to be incredibly important to go forward if you're going to continue with Marine Medic.
So we have a Radiate being upgraded here. The Lurkers come in. A little bit of an overextension here, but Jaedong always quick to blanket that area with another Dark Swarm. Fantasy's going to do a run-by. This is not to kill the third base, but to basically occupy the entrance. When the push phase of the game is done, you have this more contained phase where Terran wants to have Zerg putting Dark Swarm outside of their naturals, defending against the Medic Marine, instead of Dark Swarms in their naturals, the Terran's natural that is, killing off their base. Because one Dark Swarm around the command center of the second base that Terran has in the game ends. So this is all Terran setting up the sandbag progress the Zerg could make.
Exactly, exactly. And not just that, that little group we saw at the bottom left, that's to deny the fourth base of Jaedong, just to slow it down. Make him use spells, make him use time and effort to take that fourth. Now, Jaedong is actually pushing. He is extremely close to where Fantasy decided to take his third base. A great plague goes down, going to suck all the energy out of those medics. And you know what? Like, maybe there's a chance here for Jaedong to push up and deny the third.
We've got two drop ships over here headed to the south. This is one way to play where if the Zerg is not ready to brace for impact and deal with this, you can just lose control of the game. But it's also highly risky because Scourge can just kill the dropships off and Terran loses so much supply and momentum. So far, okay, he's gonna go right through here. I don't see any lurkers, Artos.
Two big moves. There's lurkers up at the third base of Fantasy, but Fantasy doing a double medevac, or double dropship here at the main base of Jaedong. Not much in there, so he's going to start losing some tech, unfortunately.
Some Dark Swarms come down. Oh my gosh, he gets both drop ships. It buys a little bit of time. I think, meanwhile, we do have science vessels irradiating at the natural. Oh, he's doing the eraser.
Oh, it gets picked off, though. The Plague plus Hydra killing off that vessel. And it looks like the Dark Storms have mostly cleared the main base. Jaedong, for whatever reason, unburrowed up there at the third, but he is denying mining for Fantasy.
Now, even having those 3 Marines alive in the main is a headache. That's one thing about Terran infantry, is if you don't have enough to strong-arm them, suddenly the damage starts to stack. Now, Jaedong's gonna have to run to this corner and basically try to trade out as well as he can. Fantasy, if he controls this right, can get, okay, he did a really good job of controlling that. So I was gonna say, sometimes, you know, you can really win in a moment like that where it can go either way, but that was a decent trade for Jaedong. Fantasy's still gonna have enough to be functional. And it's a 3-base to 3-base game. Fantasy is not wavering. He's actually got a lot of supply.
Yeah.
Zerg really is still pretty low.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild to see this game where, you know, Jaedong, who's been so established and active, by the way, in StarCraft 1, is really being mostly overpowered in this best of 3 by Fantasy.
He is. But now Jaedong is going to throw down the Dark Storm at that containment force and push out in order to take his 4th base. You know, when you're playing Marines and Medics against Zerg, that 4th gas is the most crucial thing that can happen. Most games are kind of normal, like this, where it's 3 base, and then Terran takes a 3rd. But when Zerg gets that 4th base up, that 4th gas, they really can start fielding an army that can truly battle against what Terran has.
Notice that the Zerg is stacking lurkers on top of each other. It creates ambiguity as far as what you see. That could look like 1 lurker. It's actually 3. But it could be even more than that, you know, and so it makes it undesirable to come in there and hit. It's also harder to irradiate stack.
Yeah, you can only irradiate 1 at a time.
Right.
It really buys a lot of time for Zerg. Now, here comes in a double drop once again. You have to clear this really efficiently. He gets the Darkstorm down quickly. Gonna go ahead and burrow a couple lurkers under there. Ling's here to meet as well. Uh-oh, Firebat's getting into that mineral line. Oh, the Defense Matrix Firebats with a great move at that 4th base natural.
Oh my god, he might be able to win the game right here. The Defense Matrix Firebats busted the entrance. It looked like the main was gonna be handled, but here we go. The Terran spills up the ramp. There are no lurkers at the bottleneck to defend.
And look at that, he also gets rid of that Ultralisk Cavern. It looks like he knows what Jaedong wants to do next, but killing the 4th base, killing the Ultralisk Cavern, really putting Jaedong behind.
Another Nidus Canal is being made. They do produce extremely quickly. There's more reinforcements coming down. If the Nidus network can finish, he should be able to reinforce it. But there's another push actually happening down over here in the bottom right. Oh my god. There's lurkers actually intercepting this, but they're not perfectly placed, Artosis.
No, but there has been a good plague there, so he's going to be able to knock out this group of bio very, very quickly indeed. Trying to pick off some of these vessels as well. Vessel kills very important for Zerg to keep those irradiates low. Jaedong right now completely focused as Fantasy pulls off the eraser.
Yeah, this is sick. Notice how Jaedong's trying to spread this out. He just wants to make these vessels do as much heavy lifting as possible in order to kill the drones. And honestly, not that many drones are being picked off. Meanwhile, a big counterattack over here from Jaedong with the SCVs.
Oh, and with a drop in the main base of Jaedong at the same time, the Firebats doing massive damage as well. Both players hurting each other immensely. Look at the supply of Fantasy. It has dropped dramatically. In fact, their supply's pretty close to even right now.
Yeah, it's kind of insane, Artosis. We've got another big wave, and by the way, the hold position lurkers have been cleaned up, but there's a counterattack that could happen up here in the natural.
Ooh, he sets up those lurkers. He's got a lot of energy on this Defiler. Going to try to get some Dark Storms down. Does get one in the front. Ooh, all the way up into the natural. Going to move forward with these lurkers.
He's going to be right up where the command center is. And Terran is mined out in the natural, by the way.
He's not mining anything.
He's not mining anything right now. Yeah, that's right. Fantasy's minerals are basically frozen right now.
Now Fantasy going for a counterattack. This is a great move, especially with the Firebats. Plague goes down. Oh, he targets down every single Scourge. Even a building coming in to spot what's coming for Fantasy's army. Now the Lurkers burrowing, actually doing a great job splitting some of these Marines apart.
Yeah, the drones are being gunned down one by one. The Lurker leaps forward here and begins to clean up this infantry. And now, I actually think Fantasy might be dead. He's got a big army, but he doesn't actually have any income.
Look at that, a great plague upon all those medics and the few Marines that were there with them. Yeah, the burning command center is still floating. The SCV's stuck. He did take a new base over here at 12 o'clock. So if he can get that fully up and mining, the production of Fantasy can start again. But look, he's been sitting at 39 minerals for a long time. He's got almost nothing going on.
That's right. He's in some hot water here.
One lurker at that base.
I don't think there's enough infantry here for Fantasy. I think he's basically lost everything that he had. I think the Zerg can just make a couple more lurkers and Zerglings and basically win the game.
I think you're right.
It looked for a little bit like Jaedong was going to fall, but he was able to stabilize. And from there, I mean, we have SCVs just now transferred. Maybe Fantasy can muster up enough, but right now this is the most vulnerable Fantasy has been this entire game.
Well, the vessel's coming forward, trying to get some irradiates down. He's really got to make the most out of this group of units. The vessels will be very cost efficient. We'll see if he can irradiate every high quality unit, but Fantasy just now started mining again. So he's down 20 supply right now, but if he can keep these two bases up and mining and get back on that two-base economy, he can refill his supply pretty quickly.
Dude, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
He literally had no income for, I think, about 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're right about that. And one thing to mention about Jaedong, though, is we're getting to the point where the geysers are running out. The main geyser should be empty just about now. The natural very soon thereafter. So when Jaedong's bank of gas is gone, he's going to have a hard time going forward with high-quality unit production.
Kind of a weird moment to see the Hydralisk irradiated. You can just make that into an egg and it'll outlast the irradiate.
Yeah.
Now, when you're roaming this deep, some small number of Lings can counterattack and do a lot of damage. We've got some reinforcements here. 3-3, by the way, for the infantry. So you don't get much stronger. Well, you literally can't get stronger than this.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy upgrades, really. It makes it very hard for Zerg to continue to engage. Jaedong's upgrade's good as well, though. He does have +2 carapace and +2 melee attack, so pretty darn solid. The vessels, though, are causing a real problem here because, you know, right now we're on 2.25 gas for Jaedong. You know, when you run out of a geyser in StarCraft 1, you get 2 gas instead of 8. It doesn't just die completely like in StarCraft 2.
Right.
So he has just over two base gas, and you're not able to make as many lurkers and, you know, like defilers off of that. So you go more Zergling heavy, but unfortunately 2-2 Lings against 3-3 Bio is not a great matchup.
That's right. Terran just trying to eke out as much damage as he can here with this infantry. Stim, kill, run away, rinse, repeat. Or lose all your stuff, Artosis, but you get the idea. By the way, the fourth base is going to be denied again here. He's going to keep irradiating this. We do have an alternative fourth base being thrown down just outside the Zerg's main. This is not a good spot, but right now you need anything.
Well, yeah, if he can get that up and secure it, okay, we have ourselves a game again. But right now, Fantasy has kept those two bases up mining long enough. He's really refilled a lot of his supply. Jaedong is picking off some vessels here and there. He's picking off some bio here and there. It's just, you can see now his gas was at 900, now it's at 150. And he's not going to bank anymore. He's going to be spending every cent of gas that he has.
So he's surrounded this set of lurkers here. That is really good, by the way. It looks funny, but it's very deliberate. The eBay has no function other than to let you make turrets later on. You might as well move it through the map. It can end up baiting Scourge into hitting it, which is totally cost inefficient.
Yeah, and you never need a turret at this point ever for the rest of the game.
Right, yeah.
Just, you never make them after the Mutalisks.
Maybe like one by an expansion or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't even know, I guess to spot a lurker or something, but really, yeah, it's useless. So instead, send it out. They both move by each other, and this could really destabilize the game for both sides.
Yeah.
Here. I don't think the Terran has enough to defend the fourth. Luckily, he's on 2 bases.
Yeah, you throw a Darkstorm down here, this base is done, at least for the time that a Darkstorm takes to go away, right? So, denies that base. He has been hitting some decent plagues as well. That's going to be a big part of this, right? You can just eat your Zerglings with the Defiler and plague everything over and over to try to make up for that upgrade deficit.
Well, now Jaedong is taking a lot of bases at the bottom. And this has been a real back and forth. Oh man, huge drop over here inside of the natural. There's a lot of Lings coming out. There might just be enough infantry to keep answering it. Where's a Dark Swarm? I don't see a Defiler.
That one Firebat making all a world of difference here. Doing a great, fantastic job. Does go up into the Lings, unfortunately for him. So the Lings may actually be able to kill these Marines as they did walk so far forward. But this drop, I mean, it has killed more than its weight in Zerglings.
Hold on a second. There's a huge push in over here. This is killing so much, but again, one Dark Swarm saves the day, and Fantasy is back to not mining.
This is an insane game between these two. Really hard to say how it's going to end. Both sides getting very, very low in supply right now. That natural hatchery is going to go down, but that gas is depleted, so it's not the biggest deal. Jaedong has 3 new bases that have hatched, but no drones really mining from them.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Fantasy tap out here. I don't think there's any way that he can actually recover. He's going to come in here and try to just hiccup the mining. This is pretty smart because Jaedong has like literally 100 minerals right now. This is,
man.
I think, literally almost all the drones in the game. There might be a bit of transfer over here to one of the naturals, but
I feel like this is the type of game where both players may be thinking about leaving.
Yeah,
you know,
I think you might be right.
You should be as stubborn as possible in this position from both sides, because really both of them can still win. But Jaedong gets this base up and mining. He has 2 other new bases with no drones at them, but the vessels can be so efficient here. Occasionally you can just fly around and irradiate everything.
Yeah, I think, does he know about that base, I wonder? I'm not so sure.
I don't think he does.
Yeah, I feel like if he knew about that, he would have just beelined his vessels right down there and done the eraser on that as well.
Well, more Scourge are coming out. Those are to prevent that. He knows that the vessels are absolutely key for Fantasy to have a chance to win this game. Look at this, 50 supply against 60 supply. Absurd.
This is crazy how scrappy this is.
Well, right now, Fantasy has relanded both command centers. He's cleaned up those areas. Jaedong has caught up in those upgrades. He does have a little bit of map control right now, but the vessels are still incredibly scary.
Yeah. And now we're seeing the drones trickle out to the other bases. I don't know if there have been scans on these fresh bases, but you know, for the time being, workers are going to continue to mine here. The 2 command centers are back up. I can't believe we've been in a game where 2 times Artosis, 2 times Fantasy has just literally not been mining for over a minute, and yet he's able to recover.
Yeah, well, especially considering we're nearing 30 minutes. For a Terran versus Zerg, this is extremely long. Normally, the game gets figured out in the first 25. So we're really getting into this crazy late game, but the economies are so small, the supplies are so small. Look at this, Fantasy trying to get those irradiates, and he is going to lose 3 vessels with super high energy. What a move by Jaedong.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, vessels are, you know, really one of the best things Terran can keep in a long game, because you have so much value by irradiating over and over and over, and so to drop that in a moment like this is huge. That being said, Fantasy continues to nibble away at these mineral patches, but Jaedong is on 4 functional bases if you count the bottom left main as well. So I mean, I do feel like the trajectory here for both players is one where Jaedong should just be way ahead in the next couple minutes.
Yeah, he will pull ahead. I think you're right about that. As these gases kick in, he's going to be able to refill his supply with non-zergling units, which is what he wants. You know, at this point, he's got enough gas that he can actually go Ultralisk Defiler, and that is the ultimate end game against Terran. If you have Ultralisk Defiler, like, Terran doesn't have a great answer for that. You're plaguing everything, you're throwing down Dark Swarms, and Firebats simply can't fight against Ultras.
Yeah, Firebats will do damage under Dark Swarm, but they're such inferior units, there's not really a point in even trying to do it.
Yeah, the concussive damage against that much armor does literally like 1 damage.
Yeah, it's like hilarious.
Yeah.
Double dropship again, but it's spotted. Oh my gosh, why is there an Overlord up there? How long this game's gone on?
Because Jaedong is a legend, that's why.
Yeah, well, it's a good spot. I mean, it's probably up there to see stuff just like that. Now he's going to push down here. This is to bait out Dark Swarms. He knows that he can't probably get too deep in here, but I think the idea is pretty good.
Yeah, those Marines and Firebats will be picked off. They do a decent job, though. You know, Fantasy does have some income again, so they're both rising up towards 100 supply once again here.
This is one of the craziest TVZs ever, Artosis.
It is a wild Terran Berserk. But right now, again, either player could win this still. They've both done so much damage to each other. Fantasy, I think, is starting to gain some confidence here. He's attacking down into the natural, but I don't think he realizes how much gas Jaedong has access to.
I think you're right. I think he thinks he might have 1 or 2 more bases when in reality, Jaedong has a ridiculous... And by the way, when you start to see this many Ultras hatch, that's when you go, oh, he must have way more than I thought. He's going to be on 4 functional gases.
Oh, man, but look at this counterattack. Tasteless! Fantasy getting into this base, going to be able to shut it down. He's going to kill this hatchery so quickly.
Yeah, there's no way to save this. It goes down as the Lynx hatch. The Firebats trade out very nicely. Oh my God, this one Firebat's gonna kill every Ling there is.
Yeah, just about. Look at that, and Plague goes down as well as a Dark Storm. The single Ultralisk may be able to shut down this base. Irradiate's being cast, and Irradiate alone won't kill a full health Ultra, so sometimes it even helps them to deal damage. This one getting into this 3rd base location.
This is a weird moment. He's gonna get up here as well. I didn't realize how brittle the defenses were in the bottom left. We weren't really paying attention to it, and I guess neither was Jaedong. A lot more drones are going to fall. Ultras have denied mining at 12 o'clock.
A lot of Lings pop out. He's going to save this base. Fantasy is mining from his 3rd base still. That might be the next stop for Jaedong.
And so, the Scourge are out now. Again, I feel like Jaedong has been so close to killing Fantasy, but Fantasy's like this cockroach that's just so hard to take out. Now, it's still the 2 bases at the bottom that I don't think are very easy to sneak into here for Terran. Yeah. And it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get them with the dropships that he had earlier on.
We don't have a lot left for Fantasy.
That's right.
Like, he's got 5 vessels, some random bio sitting around. But Jaedong at this point, yeah, another great pickoff. Jaedong at this point, I think if he gathers his Ultras and just hits the 3rd base, I think we're going to have to see a GG out of Fantasy. I think Jaedong has gotten himself into enough of a winning position. All you have to do is bring everything together. And look, he is starting to do that. You can see all of his Ultras and Lings from all corners of the map, kind of congregating, getting ready for what should be the final attack.
Yeah, no, I think we're about to see the killing blow come in here. And it was really incredible, by the way, to see Fantasy come down into the bottom left and get those kills, but it's too late. It's too little too late. The number of Ultras that are out here, there's no way to micro against this. There's no way to have the right spells to deal with it. I think that basically Fantasy is going to be hit from Jaedong, who's going to attack here from the south into the north, and Fantasy's going to be flattened from there. It's going to be GG, and we're going to be going into the next game.
I think you can literally attack anywhere, the main or one of the bases, and it'll just destroy too much. Here we go into 12 o'clock. Of course, the command center flies instantly. The SCVs get picked off. Now Jaedong just has to do his rounds.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a nice drop over here. Again, Fantasy really showing how crafty he is. You can irradiate this, but don't forget, if these Ultras start to fight Marines, the irradiate actually hurts the Marines as well.
And Jaedong loses this base. Fantasy, if he can somehow kill this entire army, maybe there is a way to victory.
Yeah. So he's taken out another base. Fantasy, though,
man.
so high in supply, and I think the Ultras are just, there's just too many.
Well, it's hard to attack into the barracks because the Ultras don't fit anywhere.
Right.
So you can actually hold position your Marines like exactly where Fantasy has them, and the Ultras can't do much. So Jaedong actually being pushed out once again. It's time to clear out the third. You stop the mining of your opponent, and you've got this.
Yeah, not to mention each of these mineral patches doesn't amount to even 400 minerals total, right? So I think you can go back, you can clean up whatever's left, but we're starting to see Fantasy truly fizzle out. I mean, there's just not that much more left. Fantasy, though, he is a fighter. He knows he wants to be the legend of Gamers8. He's already up 2-0. It looks like the writing's on the wall, though, and Jaedong is at least going to start that comeback here, winning game number 3.
Yeah, and what a game. A truly, truly epic game out of these two players. And, you know, I think Jaedong has shown that those first 2 games, you know, he was a little bit greedy with what he was trying to do. He's trying to get too far ahead. Whereas here, he tried to play a more even game, a safer game in a lot of ways. And you can see that they're really well evenly matched in that type of game.
Yeah, there's just not enough vessels out here. The Scourge, go ahead and take care of that. Terran's basically going to have one last hurrah, one last push down here. Let's see what he can do, but I think that literally, even without Dark Swarm, there's no way that Terran lives.
Yeah. Losing his last few units here, his last few mineral patches being mined. He has re-landed the command center up at 12 o'clock, so he's getting some income once again. Fantasy just not giving up. You know, this is actually a known thing called the Fantasy GG timing.
Yeah, yeah. Where he's just going to stay in the game and keep fighting no matter what. And, I mean, you can kind of see why he's able to wear so many other players down here. The counterattack's going to come in here. We're going to have even more SCVs killed. We have 35 supply here. Every unit you see is 1 supply, by the way. There are 35 units here in the game, maybe a vessel or 2 around that each cost 2 supply. But this is basically it.
Fantasy still putting in that full effort right now. GG is finally called, and Jaedong gets himself on the board.